Hello, English 3, and welcome back to American Literature. So today we are getting towards the last part of American Literature for this week because Friday we will just be doing the vocab quiz. A quick reminder, if you're watching this on Thursday, that the reviews, the 3 review exercises for the vocab list 1 is due tonight at midnight for Thursday. And then on Friday, we will have the vocab quiz. So just a quick reminder about that. But we're going to go ahead and get started today with what we are going to be working on. And so today is all about learning how to write questions and learning how to write specific types of questions. If you've ever heard of Bloom's taxonomy, it is something, you can look it up, it's kind of interesting, might make you understand why some of your teachers do some things that they do. But it levels types of learning kind of from lower order skills to higher order skills, and you have to have each level before you can move on to the next. And so we're also going to be working with Bloom's questions to be able to do some higher level thinking about literature. And the reason we're working with questions is twofold. One, it's very important to know how to ask good questions and know how to answer good questions just in life so that we can think more deeply about the things around us. And two, for this class right here and now, we are going to be doing a Socratic seminar. We'll be doing 3 in this unit, and our first one will be on Monday. And so if you've never had a Socratic seminar in a class before, essentially what it's going to be is your time as a class to talk about what you want to talk about. So if you are quarantined or virtual at Monday, you won't be able to participate as much, but I'm going to have a few ways that you can still chime in and give some interaction with your peers. And so the first thing is that I will have you write questions and they will all go into a Google Doc anonymously. So we won't know who wrote which ones, but if you are at home, your questions will still go in that doc and be relevant to your classmates in person on Monday. And then I will ask you on Monday, and I'll give you more details about this then, to answer any of the questions that you want to answer. So you can still kind of respond to what your classmates are asking. And so in the Socratic seminar, essentially, we'll have that Google Doc of questions, and it will be in your guys' house to do what you want to with the conversation. I'll ask for a volunteer, and that person can ask any question they want. They can ask their own question. They could ask someone else's. It doesn't matter. And then other people will have to respond. And when you choose to move on, you can ask another question, and then we will discuss and respond together as a whole class. We will need to be respectful to each other and kind. Usually I would do some things to help us take turns so that each person can speak. But since of COVID, I don't know that we'll be able to pass anything around the room like think of the conch shell in Lord of the Flies. So that is the purpose of what we're doing, is we're going to be using the questions that we write at the end of this class period in that Socratic seminar. First, we have to learn how to write questions. So we have this question list. This PDF is in Google Classroom under questions with red jacket, I believe. And it is, it lists out each of these different levels of questions that Bloom talks about. And we are going to be working only with the questions on this page, so 4 through 6. And the reason is we want questions that can be discussed, questions that everyone can have a different answer to, which 3 does a little bit, but most of these are just kind of factual evidence. They are going to be the same no matter who answers them, while 4 through 6 can kind of change and develop depending on who's speaking. So I'm going to use the example of The Little Mermaid, the Disney movie, to illustrate to you the different types of questions. So for level 1, if I would ask a level 1 question of the Little Mermaid, I might say, who is it that Ariel exchanged her voice for legs with? And the answer would be Ursula. So there's no other way to answer that question. It is Ursula, and that's the only answer. For level 2, I could ask, why did Ariel exchange her voice for legs with the sea witch Ursula? And the answer would be because she wanted to be where the people are, or be on the land. Once again, there's no way to discuss or debate that. It's a very simple, straight to the fact type of question. Then for level 3, we might say something along the lines of, so if we go with what choice, perhaps what choice does Ariel face when deciding how to be where the people are? And once again, the answer would be that she has to exchange her voice for legs. So it's not something that she can just go and do. She has to make a sacrifice. Once again, kind of a very straight to the point answer. Now we get into some of the more advanced ones. So analyze, evaluate, and create. So when we analyze, we're thinking about why things happen as they do. We're examining them. We're drawing conclusions. So perhaps we would go ahead and ask, how are Eric and Ariel similar to each other, and what things do they share in their relationship? So that could be talked about in a lot more ways we could discuss, and some people might have different opinions about things that they have in common or are different. Evaluate, so level 5. So this one is where we're going to kind of be judging things, if you will, in the sense of what is good, how do we see consequences or accomplishments, or why do some people make the choices that they do. So this one would be good. So do you think Ariel kind of exchanging her voice for legs is a good or a bad thing? And so we could discuss, and people might have different opinions about how wise that choice was for Ariel. And then level 6, so create. So this is when we're thinking of possible things that could happen in a text outside of, or we're even talking about our own personal reactions. So what would happen if Ariel never got legs and went on land? What would her life look like? How would her life played out differently as a whole? And so we could talk and debate about that as well. So I hope using The Little Mermaid gives you a bit of an example of how each of these things can be. So 1 through 3 is more factual. There's not a lot of ways that we could have different answers. While 4 through 6, we can kind of, each person should be able to have a different response to a level 4 through 6 question, and that's kind of the point. So moving on, our first exercise for today is going to be that we are going to ask some questions about one particular text, and this text is by an author named Red Jacket, and it is called Reply to the Missionary Jacob Cram. So this is a transcription of a speech, so a bit of a different genre than the other 2 texts that we read, or 3 texts technically, since there were 2 creation stories. And so Red Jacket is a Seneca orator, or a Seneca, I think a public speaker, and so he is a Native American, and he is replying to a missionary who is famous for making this assertion that there is but one religion and but one way to serve God, and if you do not embrace the right way, you cannot be happy hereafter. And so this is Red Jacket's response to that claim by this missionary, and it is a speech that he spoke. So it's not very long. It goes from here all the way down to this last little sentence here. It's very short. And so what we're going to be doing is, if you are at home and you're listening to this, is I want you to read this, and I want you to write one level 4 through 6 question. So you can choose if you want to analyze, evaluate, or create. So you're just writing one question, but it's your choice which of these 3 that you choose. So go ahead and pause me and read this, and then go ahead and write your question. Okay, and if you're back, welcome back. If you didn't pause me, just keep listening. So after you have written your question, I want you to go ahead and then answer your own question about Red Jacket speech. So whatever it is that you asked, just go ahead and answer it, and that'll be in that question box on Google Classroom. And then once you're done with that, our last step for today is that I want you to go back onto Google Classroom, and there is a post that says Socratic Prep number 1. And so this is our preparation for our first Socratic seminar, and I want you to write 2 questions and submit them there. And so your 2 questions need to be either a level 4, level 5, or level 6 question, and then I want them to be about one of the things that we've read this week. So they could be about Las Casas, they could be about either one of the creation stories, so either the Cherokee or the Iroquois story, or they can be about Red Jacket. I want you to submit a different question than the one you just wrote for Red Jacket, but you can still write more questions about his speech. So one of those readings and either level 4, 5, or 6. And you are writing 2 questions. They do not have to be about the same reading, and they do not have to be the same level. Or they could be the same level and about the same reading, but they do not have to be. And that is all. If you have any questions about question writing or about Red Jacket, please let me know and reach out. I'm always here if you need help with anything, just let me know. All right, I hope you have a good rest of your day. Don't forget vocab quiz tomorrow.